Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Camera Tuesday. In today's episode we're going to talk about Nikon Z50. So let's dive right into it. Well, first we have to understand what the heck we are talking about. Well, it is Nikon's first APS-C mirrorless camera. Nikon had tried mirrorless before, but they were not taking it very seriously and they tried it with a 1-inch sensor system. Let's just put it this way, that it did not work out as well as they expected. So that they scrapped. Now they are creating a new mirrorless whole lineup with a new lens basically mount, and this time they are serious about it. So they created Z7 and Z6. Now those are full frame, quote unquote professional kind of system. However, when you are creating this kind of system, it has an issue. Is like how the heck beginner people will get into it. Like, when you are starting out and you are not sure about the system, how the heck you gonna muster up investment of like $2,000 or $5,000. So this is for those kind of scenarios. So it is under $1,000. It's like, and APS-C is the interesting part because Z mount till this point had only full frame. They had two cameras, both of them were full frame. This is the first time basically quote unquote DX sensor, APS-C sensor is put into this system. Now, because the whole combination is new, that Z mount combined with APS-C is new, they had created two new lenses with this. So this is a whole system package. At this point in time, think of it this way, three new things were launched. Basically buy Z50 and buy two lenses with it. It has a flip out screen. Again, they are specifically targeting for vloggers and all that, and you can check out their main web page and you can see it. And it also has a pop-up flash, which may not sound a big deal, but it is a big deal when you are starting out, because yes, pop-up flash are not powerful enough like where you can expose your model properly in sunlight, but it is enough to teach you. Basically, it's something that, hey, you can experiment with pop-up flash and you feel like, hey, I think it would be better if I had bigger and more powerful, and you can just attach it. So this is like a good training ground, think of this way. That is why almost all beginners DSLRs have basically pop-up flash. It's a good teaching tool. Now, okay, we got the budget is less than $1,000. It's for a Z system, so basically Nikon's future is betting on the system. So who is this targeted for, basically? Now the whole context of DSLR is this way. Company does not make that much profit when you buy a DSLR. Any DSLR, be it 5D, be it D800, whatever have you, they never make too much profit out of that, but they make a lot of profit when you buy lenses. So how the heck they're gonna make sure that you first not only buy a very expensive body, basically very expensive DSLR, and also buy the lenses so they can make profit out of it? They create very low end products like Nikon D3100. Now the reason for something like that low end to exist is basically they wanted to get you through the door. They're like foot in the door kind of scenario. So like you buy that and you're like, okay, now I'm into Nikon system, now I'm familiar with Nikon, so your next camera will be Nikon by default because of your experience with them. So it's like that. It's like a kind of a bit scenario. So this is exactly the same. This is like you're supposed to be your first startup with an interchangeable lens system. Once you buy this, once you are used to it, again by 99% probability you're gonna buy another Nikon system. So this is what they are doing. They are making sure that people who want to start out and they have right now only have the money to do it very low budget kind of scenario, they can start with this. Once they gain more money, get better job, get promotions, or have more money, they will upgrade to Z7 and Z6, not into Canon, not into anything else, because they had experience with this. So this is a kind of very important first step for Nikon. Now it's targeted as a first time shooter. Now this is one thing that I have to clarify very simply. Every company has few ups and downs and all that. Now biggest problem with Sony is basically Sony is a Japanese company. Translation, basically they are egocentric to the death kind of scenario, and it has happened with Sony multiple times. It's like Sony tried Betamax, Radio Corporation of America begged them, like a biggest corporation in America is begging you, please make the recording length longer. They're like, no, I will rather go bankrupt than listen to you. Happened. Then with their mobile lineup, they tried their memory gate format, the memory card, rather than joining the SD card association. And like, I will rather go bankrupt than listen to you. Yeah, they went bankrupt with that also. You can understand, they have that, like if their product works, awesome, but if they do not work, and they will never listen to you, they will rather go bankrupt than ever listen to you. And they have like a whole history of hundred something. So same goes with their Alpha series cameras. Cameras are quite amazing. They have touchscreen, but they are disabled in software. Basically, you cannot touch the menu items. That's not an issue with Nikon. So the moment you hold this camera, you'll be like, huh, nice, a camera that does not make me lose my hair. So it is quite interesting part. Like just for that reason alone, you may find many people, hey, I tried a Sony, it did not work out for me, because it's that hideous. Like it's not like they do not have engineer, they have the best engineer. It's not that they do not have the programmers, they got the programmer. It's just they're like, no, 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 we did not give touchscreen, so you rather die than never get a touchscreen. So you have to understand, Sony has an ego problem, so you must revolve around it. Now again, I can deal with that system, so I'm like, okay, buying that. But if a starter touches this, like, yeah, no, no, especially the people who are coming from touchscreen generation from your mobile phone. So Nikon and Canon both capitalize on that, because their menu system, their interface is on a whole different level, and they have 50 years of experience. So when they say like their menu is intuitive, it is intuitive. Like the only company that even comes close is Panasonic, and the problem with Panasonic is Panasonic have way too many menus. Now again, it's good for nerds like me, but for the average beginner, it could be like, oh dude, how many options do you have? Like, why do you have 36 video format option? It's like you can understand. So Nikon is a very good camera when it comes to starter for. Like you can see everything about this, like a good build body. It's a very easy to operate, and menu system would be like, hey, nice, I can understand what the heck is happening. So that is very very nice strategy on their part, and they're aiming for video. You can see it by heck, their own web page. Just for pay attention to that, they have flip down screen, they have mic input. It's targeted on the vlogging crowd. So that's what they are targeting for. Now, are there any problem with the system? Well, the biggest problem with the system is that lack of lenses. They have only two DX lenses. So let's say I generally recommend people nowadays is stay away from APS-C system or micro four thirds system. Now, why is that? Can they not create awesome images? Absolutely, they can create most gorgeous image. But here's the gap between basically your mobile camera versus your APS-C versus your full frame. That gap has shrunk dramatically. Basically, at this point in time, mobile phones, specifically from high ends, as in iPhone, as in Galaxy, as in OnePlus 7, OnePlus 8, these are so damn good. It's horrifying how close they come up. Now again, to beat that, you actually have to go into bokeh, because software cannot replicate bokeh. So what softwares generally do, like in case of your mobile, they will select you and blur out everything else. Again, it's good enough that most people are convinced by it, and it has such a profound impact on photography as an industry that there are weddings right now going on that people do not even bother to hire a photographer. And you can see every Tonic and Harry is just putting it, and nobody is printing out photos, nobody is. So it is being directly affecting the livelihood of photographers. So for that reason, and many times you will see this with new time beginners kind of bias remorse. They bought like D3 100, they bought the kit lens, and unless they know very extreme photography, like how to get blur out of a non-blurry kind of lens out of it, they will be like, dude, it's not that good. It's not that good. It's just like I bought it. It's like, yeah. And not to mention, mobile is getting upgraded every damn year. So that is why I do not recommend buying APS-C, because gap from APS-C to your mobile is damn close. Full frame still has a lot of range, and not to mention full frame has a much larger lens selection. So if you ever get to see a full frame paired up with f1.8, you will be blown away. So for that reason, I never recommend APS-C, especially for people who are doing professionally. And what do I mean by professionally? I simply mean you are trying to make a living out of it, because you want to have a equipment that's not gonna be like, dude, why I have to pay you whatever your fees is. Like, dude, your photos are good, but they're not like whoa. So to get that wow factor, you have to have that wow blurry factor. That comes from the lenses. This have limited lens selection. Only two lenses are there, and none of them are like f1.8 that at least acts as f2. So that's the first limitation. On top of that, you might be like, okay, why not I just buy a lot of very good APS-C lenses from Nikon. Problem with that will require you to buy an adapter from F mount to Z mount. Issue with that adapter is super expensive. It's like 30% of the cost of, not even 30, I think 45% of the cost of the freaking camera. So that is a very critical thing. If that adapter was included in the box, how Canon did with Canon EOS RP, that would have been amazing, because then the whole lens lineup would have been opened up to you. But that's not happened. So that is the biggest hurdle here, is that you cannot go to those lenses, because to use those lenses effectively you have to buy adapter, and adapter is so damn expensive that you cannot afford that. Like if you could afford that adapter, you're not gonna buy the system. You're gonna buy either Z7 or basically Z5 or Z7. So in that sort of scenario, lack of adapter in the box is very limiting. Now, lack of IBUS is a very frustrating thing for Nikon itself, because Nikon is inherently limiting themselves. Right now, I can easily say with any new buying Sony user, it's like, hey, dude, you are very low on money. I can understand that, and you want to buy a full frame, but you can't afford it right now. Buy just a few full frame lenses, one prime, one zoom, whatever have you, and buy A6100. They will work with each other. Awesome, no problem. Now here's the deal. I cannot say that with Nikon. You might be like, don't they have full frame lenses? Most of their full frame, must scratch that. All of their full frame lenses that are built for Z system does not have vibration reduction. AKA, you cannot pair this with a Z50. The moment you do that, well, you have to have a very hell of a tripod and very high shutter speed and very high ISO, because this does not have image stabilization nor your camera body. So you can understand that does not mesh well. You have to have image stabilization somewhere. Like we had this, like, as early as like D30-100 lenses, kit lenses for those cameras had that. So again, these two lenses have that is built for DX system. But you can't be like, okay, I'm gonna buy Z50, save money on the body, and buy expensive lens that I can later upgrade my body and don't have to throw away the lens. You can't do that, because these lenses flat out do not have vibration reduction. Was there an easy solution to this? Absolutely. Just had IBUS. Goddamn, if you had IBUS, not only it would have allowed people to buy full frame lenses from the get-go. It's like, okay, I'm gonna buy full frame lens, and once I have the money, I'll upgrade the body. It would have also made it much more palatable to vlogging community, because lens image stabilization have an inherent limitation. It cannot correct for roll. Basically, you cannot rotate your lens. It will have no effect on the image. So and like basically your lens image stabilization only works in 2 axes. Your sensor can work into 5 axes. So you can lack of IBUS really forces you to actually use only these 2. And if you can afford the basically super expensive adapter, why are you buying Z50? So these 2 kind of limits it. Now flip down the screen. Why? Basically, just why? Flip down. So again, anything is could be good or bad, unless based on its competition. If competition is very good, it's very bad. Now if competition is very bad, this is awesome. So what about the competition? Well, Sony's biggest competitor here right now, and the biggest advantage Sony has is Sony has been working in the background for a very long time, and they have very large lens selection at this point in time, because in the beginning everybody, Tom, Dick and Harry, was like, hey, I don't want to buy some Sony Alpha series. Even though body was very good, they did not have the lenses to back it. So it was like, they had the horse, but they did not have the chariot. Now they have both of them. So at this point in time, even on a low end system, just for fun, like you buy photography, you're not like your livelihood coming off it. You just want to enjoy it, you want to chill it. You can buy a lot of APS-C lens. Most of them comes with optical image stabilization, optical steady shot, as Sony calls it. So that's why you can pair it up with camera bodies that do not have IBUS, and you will still get a usable experience. Or you can buy full frame. Many of their full frame also have optical steady shot benefit. You can pair it up with basically camera body that does not have IBUS. So you can see, like, Sony has a lot of room. Like they have a enjoy, like make a selection however you want to. That luxury is not afforded to any system right now. Basically, Panasonic only has 3 lenses, Canon only has 5 lenses, and Nikon, the lack of IBUS is hurting them. So you can understand, flat out, like if you know what lens you want, Sony is your best bet. Now, what about Fuji? Many people want Fuji. Now, Fuji is a very good company. They know what they want to do, and they do not have conflict of interest. That is one thing I'm genuinely surprised. Is like all these billionaires with hundreds of $1 million like lawyer firms, none of them know how to create a product that does not cannibalize their own products. And like Canon is worst offender of this. Like they created so many products and they have to cripple each of the products. So people are, hey, instead of buying this, please buy that. Like you can understand that they remove 24p, so Canon C200 would sell. That's never gonna happen. So again, yeah, I know that they released a firmware update, but you can understand what they were thinking. Like, okay, let's block our thing. They were crippling it, basically triple hammering it. So you can understand that Sony, Nikon, Canon, and even Panasonic to some extent, they all have conflict of interest. Panasonic is like jumping in. They're like, okay, Micro Four Third, yeah, you did. I'm going into full frame. So in those sort of scenario, you can truly understand this frustration. Is like Fuji is awesome because they know what they want to do. They are like, APS-C is our domain, nobody can make a camera as good as our system. And you can see that, like, flat out, they are the only option, practically speaking, in mirrorless that gives you dual card slot. That is very necessary for event photography or any kind of wedding photography, because you cannot go to your client and be like, yeah, I lost it because my card flopped. And it does happen. You might be like, hey, it didn't happen to last 10 years. It only has to happen to you once. And there is a reason why even Nikons and Canons and Panasonic's higher end bodies always come with dual systems. Even Sony's own full frame bodies generally come with dual card slot. This is necessary. It's not an option. It's a necessity if you are doing anything that is serious. Like, you do not want to take the risk. It's like you are living dangerously. Awesome. Like, I hope you pull through. So let's say, but the biggest problem with Fuji in India is that it's not available everywhere. So lens selections are not that great, and availability is very sketchy here. Now, what if you want to buy a Sony A6100? It's very cheaper and you want to invest the money on the lens. Awesome, but problem is A6100, while it has unlimited recording and all that jazz, it does suffer with very bad EVF. That's how they are keeping the cost down. The EVF is bad. So the best suggestion I could say is, like, go to a shop and test it out. If you are okay with the EVF, awesome, enjoy your life. If you're not, then you can go to A6600. Definitely more expensive, and definitely something I do not recommend to buy because it's so damn expensive. Add little bit more, you will end up in full frame. And you can, if you are like, hey, I need that unlimited recording, little bit of hack in Sony can give you that unlimited recording. So that is why I can say, like, Nikon really could have saved their system if they had added IBUS, or they could have introduced the basically adapter in the box. So that would have made their system quite awesome. But right now it's not. It's really not good. It's not a very good long-term investment. It's like you have to start with only 2 lenses. So this was my presentation on basically Nikon Z series system, Z50. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I would urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.